Yeah. Look to the right and look to the left. Yeah, it is.
Go ahead and mute. Not ready yet. Are you going to go?
Well, I did have it on mute. Then you just turned it on.
So you got it.
Oh.
I must have heard you in this one.
Yeah, you heard me in that
Yeah,
one.
I brought 10 copies of that in case you want
You
to
heard
use
it
it.
somewhere.
Awesome.
That way they can have it right in front of them instead of having to look at the screen.
Yep, I have it on I gave them a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. It's got it. That's awesome.
This right here might also be important. This is Sealands Court. Park is right here. Fire truck ran auto terminal. Fire trucks can go around it without a problem.
Yeah, they don't want us to use it.
Okay.
Yeah, good point.
Yep.
Okay.
It's nice to have a good call. Commissioner come in and send me a birthday card. Isn't that nice?
That's not happy birthday, buddy. I forgot to tell you that.
Yeah, the nice way to spend my birthday, you know.
What are you, 40?
Yeah, I wish. 46. You said earlier, I said, yeah, I said I'm 32 again for the 14th time.
29 3/4.
It's a nice way to spend your birthday with you or your closest friend.
Not that I know of. I have to start checking my. Somebody was supposed to send me an email the other day and I couldn't find it, and I went to my spam folder and it was in there. It's like, how does this happen?
Yep. The receipt you turned in, they don't want to pay for it? Oh, they got kicked back. They got kicked
Well,
back.
we
so
got into
we'll
work
talk about
Monday
it tomorrow.
morning, and both of my calendars and Melinda's were
I'll give you some
totally
money
messed
for
up.
it. Okay. And if we all chip in a little bit, I think it's a little more powerful.
Totally messed up.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just,
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to this workshop on Walton Dunes. I would ask you at this time, please, if you have anything that beeps, buzzes, makes a noise, if you would turn it off, please, first of all, so that we can hear up here, and as well as the people that are around you that will be able to hear and won't be disturbed. We would appreciate that very much. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Brian Killenberger and Jay Tusa. Welcome, Brian. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, staff, concerned citizens of Walton County, appreciate your time this afternoon to discuss the possibilities for improvements to the Walton Dunes beach access. You have the same PowerPoint presentation in front of you. You can follow along on the screen or you can follow along on the paper. So workshop format, we'll have a brief presentation, then we'll have a question and comment section for the public after that. At any time during the presentation, if you have a question or comment, please speak up. Workshop rules, once again, that was pretty much it. Later on during question and comments, there's going to be differences of opinion in the room. We'd appreciate if everybody would respect everybody's opinions. You'll have 3 minutes to talk. And if you have the same thing to say as your predecessor, we'd appreciate if you'd keep it short. Project presentation is PowerPoint. We have it available in e-file. If you'll just email me or my assistant, Stacy Emfinger, cards are on the desk out front. We'll get it right to you. And like I say, public comments will be after the presentation. So without further ado, a little property history. This was one of 4 parcels of land we received from the BLM in 1998. It was under lease for several years, and then it was conveyed to us under patent deed in 2013. The conveyance terms did include to use it for a recreation and public purpose. The other 3 parcels have been developed into 2 regional beach accesses. That's Inlet Beach Regional Beach Access and our Fort Panic Regional Beach Access in the Dune Allen area. And then the other one is the 1 Seagrove parcel of land that has a small cul-de-sac down at the beachfront level.
Brian, can you pause a minute? I want to make sure the people on the back row, can y'all hear him? Very good. All right, thank you, Brian.
Good. A little project history. Back in 2012, this project was identified once again. It had the probability of receiving some of the early BP oil funds. At that time, the County Commission considered it, and it was tabled. April 2014, we, the TDC, were tasked with identifying areas to improve in July 2014, we included in what we called our Beach Access Initiative. And part of that initiative was to develop beach accesses to help with congestion and parking issues on 38. December 2014, the project became before the Tourist Development Council, and it was approved for recommendation to the BCC for approval to move forward. April 2016, we brought it before the BCC. At that time, it was voted on to move forward with it. And then in May 2016, TDC requested the BCC to hold some public workshops to gauge and take public input on the project. And in June 2016, we're here at our public workshop. Property overview. This is a property appraiser's web shop. It shows the property extents in the red line there. These are some aerial views of the property to give you a better idea. These are current. These were taken just a couple of days ago. This is looking from the northwest corner down towards the east. This first one was, of course, right above the rack line, looking over the property towards the north. Here's a shot looking at the northwest corner and then kind of the northeast corner. And it gives you an idea of the existing topography of the property. This is the conceptual plan that was brought forth in December of 2014 to the TDC meeting. It's what we call our regional beach access minimal. Minimal meaning it has minimal parking, has a restroom pavilion, a plaza for bike racks, and a small boardwalk, dune walkover down to the beach level. Has some auxiliary parking that includes the handicap parking that also doubles as a turnaround to help eliminate or minimize the traffic going on further down Beachfront Trail to the east. This is what I call Conceptual Plan 2. It's new. After our last meeting, we figured it was prudent to start looking at some different ideas to help further minimize the footprint of the project on the piece of land. The red line you see running at an angle is the CCCL. Everything needs to be constructed behind it. It also, if you can see where the layout of that parking lot is, a little bit less parking than the other one. This one is, I believe, 17 parking spaces. The other one had 27. So it was a second option to look at today. Here it is with the auxiliary parking added back into it, because it appears that from the feedback that I've been getting that traffic down Beachfront Trail further to the east is a big problem, and turnaround capabilities are an important part of this project. This is what I call Concept Plan 2A. This is the first time you've seen it. Here is a topography survey of the property with the outline of the original concept plan laid on it. I'm on page 14. This is an enlarged version of it, so you can see the contour lines a little bit better. There's been a lot of talk about degradation of the dune system with the development of this project. I want to note that you'll notice that the large dune on the western northwest corner of the property is not going to be compromised at all. The dunes out in front of that, which are also like the second largest dunes, aren't going to be touched at all. In fact, the only dunes that are really compromised on this project are the low-lying dune at the edge of the road, and then some smaller dunes on the northeast corner of the property. We will get into about half of that dune, a little more than half. But part of the project will also include a dune enhancement component. So we'll work with the FDEP on adding some more dune structure out in front of all this project to help beautify and, more importantly, protect upland structures. Here is a current survey. Apologize for it looking a little, like work in progress, but it was taken just recently. As you can see, the red marks there identify the tops of the existing dunes. And if you compare that to the survey from 2012, there's no change in the height of the highest point of those dunes. So they have not added any sand to them, and they've not lost any sand to them. This gives you a good idea of what's out there right now. These were taken late last week, and then some follow-up work this week. If you look at the top of that one dune, it's 19 feet. If you go back and look at the original survey, it's 19 feet. All the rest of them are exactly the same as well. This is our proposed restroom facility. This is the model. We have different models at our different regional beach accesses. This is one we use at Inlet Beach. The Bureau of Land Management stays active in the development of all these projects. They like this model. It also works well. It's got capacity for plenty of people. And it's not a very large footprint, and it's kind of low to the ground. Our other beach accesses have cupolas on them. They kind of stick up, give some architectural features. Here's the elevation shot of it. As you can see, small, low hip roof, breezeway down the middle, men's and women's restrooms, and it's got small chases on each side where we access our plumbing maintenance and we keep all of our supplies for the maintenance of the restroom. Here is a shot of our Inlet Beach, so it'll look very similar to this. These are the colors we chose a couple of years ago, standardize everything. Here's a rear elevation. This is looking north. Walton Dunes costs. Cost components. You have design and permitting and construction. In the design, it's civil and architectural. Permitting, we'll have federal and state environmental, county development order, county building permit. All that's handled by the engineer of record. And then the construction cost, you have the components or the parking, restroom facilities, sidewalk, bicycle parking area, dune enhancement, and then what we call our typical accessories, which are the wayfaring and safety signs, our garbage collection stations, bike racks, rinse showers, safety flagpole, and benches. All those are our standard components at all of our regional beach accesses that are for the people using the thing. Here's our cost estimate. This is my basic template when I put together what I call conceptual costs for the project. This is what was shown to you at our last meeting, April 12th, roughly $260,000 for the development of this project. Our improvement efforts. We have notified the Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management to let them know of our intention. Vicki Kraft is our contact. She's aware of it and agrees that part of the stipulation of the conveyance is that it is for recreation and public purpose. We've also contacted USFWS, Fish and Wildlife Service, and FWC. They have made a cursory review of the property for endangered species. In the 2013 conveyance, there was also an environmental study done that did not identify any active population, but it is deemed a domain for the Chattahoochee beach mouse, and of course the sea turtles that frequent our beach. They had a few items they'd like for us to pertain to, and that's the stuff we do on our beaches anyway. Drive along the rack line, environmentally sensitive lights, and stuff like that. We have notified local residents through certified mail of the improvement of our intent to improve. We struck about a 3,000 foot radius from the property and mailed out 700 letters to all the people local to the project of our intent and of the day of the workshop. And of course we have scheduled this public workshop. So we're at our question and comment section. Is there any questions from the commission that I can answer right now?
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have, before I open it up, do any of y'all have any questions of Brian? Ms. Meadows?
Not right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Enfield? Mr. Chapman? Okay, all right. Thank you, Brian. If you
Yes, ma'am.
have a seat for me. At this time, I will open it up to public comment. We have had you sign if you wanted to speak to the commission. The rules are you have 3 minutes. And as he said earlier, and I ask you to be respectful of everybody in the room. We all have different opinions and different ideas. But that's not to say one's any more valuable than the other. We are here to work for a common goal for everybody. But I say your time limit is 3 minutes. If you agree with the fellow before you, you can stand up and say, I agree with him and move on. But I will start with, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, so I'm going to butcher a whole bunch of them tonight. Lori, is it Rickenbach? Rickenbach. Yes, ma'am. If you will come forward, please, ma'am.
We have some programs, our proposal to pass out. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Lori Reichenbach. As a resident and voting member of Walton County, a resident of the Walton Dunes neighborhood, and president of the Dunes of Seagrove Homeowners Association, I am here to speak against the development of a regional beach access park on the premises of neighborhood safety and lack of infrastructure to support an increased number of visitors that a developed park will bring into our neighborhood. Dunes of Seagrove is the west border neighbor to the county park. The west park access in Dunes of Seagrove are 0.6 of a mile from the 30A Lakewood intersection. There is a danger zone in this drive to the beach where you will find 2 blind 90-degree turns. In addition, within that 0.2 of a mile span, there is no place for the pedestrian and the bicyclist to walk or drive safely. There is no sidewalk, forcing all foot traffic into the road with the cars. In this section, the driver visibility is nil due to the private homes and the foliage, and I have photographs of that in the back of my program. This is a high-risk area for injury to our foot traffic. With the expected increased traffic that a regional park will bring to our neighborhood, we expect that increase would exponentially grow. Dunes of Seagrove is a condominium complex of 81 individual unit owned by units. At a minimum capacity, we house 484 people, and we have quite a following. All come with a variety of beach gear. Many use the east side sidewalk to enter the west county portion of the beach, and all utilize Lakewood to get to the Tempucci Trail on 30A. These guests further congest our area. As you approach the county park, there is no way to turn around, and many of the drivers that get in there have to use our private drives, entryways, and parking lots for the homes, the condos, and the townhomes that are in our neighborhood. We have already witnessed the destruction of Seawind Courts Road, and there's been no repairs to that road. So we are very concerned that this increased traffic will use all of our private driveways, and at this time, our HOA does not have the budget to take care of road destruction. The Dunes of Seagrove homeowners request that the commissioners remove this park from the regional beach access plan and leave it as a neighborhood park. It serves beachfront villas. It serves Dunes of Seagrove. There are thousands of people who have access from Lakewood that already fill up this park. I thank you for your time, and I hope you will consider removing it from a regional park development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Annette Crosby. Am I right? Annette, okay.
That's right. Okay, I have some photographs that I took when Ivan hit September 2004, and the April of 2016 is the same look view, whatever. This one right here, you can see that there's a little sign that's like a 4-foot sign right here that they placed inside that dune area, and it's almost totally covered up with sand. So this view here and that are the same view, like just all those years difference. And the other one over here is my little granddaughter that's 4 years old walking, so you can see those dunes are quite high. And they use also that area for a staging area for when all the docks and all the walkovers, they just pile them up very, very high, and that's the only place really around there that they could use for staging areas. So it totally wiped it out in 2004, and I know there were other storms, Dennis in 2005 and Opal that was before that. But this was like a few days after, and the water came all the way up. And I'm just asking that you leave the dunes like they are. They are protection for the other houses in the area to stop the water encroaching. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I live beachfront townhomes number 9, which is those buildings right there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, and I'm going to butcher this one. Is it Steve Jonkel?
Junker. Sorry.
Junker.
It's
All
my
right.
nervous writing. And
I got Steve right anyway.
Medicated writing.
First off, thank you very much. I appreciate your time here today. I'm a resident at 350 Beachfront Trail. My name is Steve Junker, and I guess if I had to narrow it down, there's a lot of things I'm concerned about is the environment. Are we doing the due diligence and necessary, like a third party, a really well done study to say what is the prospective impact of this design on, we can't predict everything, but what do we think that it'll do to the environment? So Kristen's going to pass out a couple of pictures here, and I label this one, Why Do Dunes Matter? Because they save ourselves. This was back during Opal, and it's quite dramatic, and you may see this picture again today, but you can see that dunes do protect us. They're the reason that Walton Dunes, the Townhome Association, is still here today. So I was interested in this process, because I know nothing, I contacted a gentleman, Rolando Gomez, from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And he says, I don't have any jurisdiction in this case because it's north of landlord of the control line. I said, well, what does that mean? Well, we don't get engaged unless it would be that would be within the control lines. So then they have absolutely no jurisdiction. So I'm like, well, I wonder who environmentally is involved. I know Marina Daniel, she's been great, contacted Mr. Kellenberger and said, well, who would be involved in the environmental studies? And he mentioned that very nicely that the USFWS, the wildlife, part of the BLM property transfer, they did an environmental awareness study. They went out and they said, there's a sand dune, here's the vegetation, and so on and so forth. That what we would do going forward would be just to look at what has changed since that 2013 study. We wouldn't really look at how this would impact this design going forward. There's been so many studies, ones that critically eroded beach study. I know you guys have heard 1,000 times, but we were trying to add sand to this beach at one time. That didn't really go over very well. It was tabled. There aren't any easy solutions. I understand, but basic logic would say that just because we couldn't approve that doesn't mean we're going to take a bunch of sand away and that makes sense. Why not partner with somebody like FEMA, who is like an expert in this area? FEMA goes on to say, and I know I'm running out of time, sand dunes are as important first line of defense as coastal storms. If we can assume that, it can be assumed that any removal of any alteration of sand would render the dune more susceptible to erosion and increase potential damages to structures behind that dune. Communities are advised to prohibit all alterations of sand dunes unless the applicant can submit engineering analysis that demonstrates the flood damages will not be increased prior to issuing permits. I'm asking you to do that analysis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, okay, I'm fixing to butcher another one. I know the first name's Kristen. Is it Nordstrom? Okay. Kim, do you have these? I'll send them down to you. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Kristen Nostran Junker. I've been a property owner at Walton Dunes since 2000 and a full-time resident since 2012. I'm also the president of the Walton Dunes Townhome Association. First, I'd like to address my previous request to make sure that this meeting stays focused on the proposal to change Walton Dunes beach access from a neighborhood beach access to a modified regional beach access, and to recognize that this has absolutely no bearing on the issue of public versus private beaches. That has been monopolizing a lot of time and energy in Walton County of late. Walton Dunes beach access has always been public and always should be. And as recently as 2014, we all thought that you and the TDC had completed this very same process of workshops and concluded that it should remain in neighborhood beach access. This was for all of the reasons that are being presented today, only today they're even more pronounced. Specifically, the neighborhood population and bike, pedestrian, skateboard, and golf cart traffic to the beach access has only increased. You're seeing all these pictures, but an entire subdivision at 30A in Lakewood has filled in with Water Sound West. The dunes have gotten bigger as defined in the changes in the topographical maps. While not significantly, I would like to say that they would have been developed even more so had the county erected sand fences 2 years ago, similar to what Walton Dunes did, where we have seen substantial increase in our protective dune. The vehicular traffic has increased due to more construction, more deliveries, more repairs, trash pickup, etc. The blind turn at Lakewood and Beachfront Trail is only more dense with the completion of the Tresca homes. And lastly, what has not changed, however, is the fact that it's being raised yet again, not because of need, rather because according to the BCC administrative PR in the news coverage on April 25th, this is one of the last parcels of the county has the right to develop versus purchasing locations that make more sense in every way. Also, what's not different from 2 years ago is that we're having this very workshop again after misinformation was provided to the BCC by the TDC on this very issue. You'll see in the notes from the November 2014 meeting that this was exactly the case at that time, too. A workshop after significant time, effort, and money was spent anticipating a yes vote. Additionally, it doesn't seem to have changed that for some reason tourism is seen as more important than overall safety and environmental concerns of a neighborhood, residents, and even the tourists too. It also hasn't changed that the parking lot designated for the beach access goes empty all but peak weekends, or is used as overflow for neighboring units since there is no prominent no overnight parking sign, rather one that is hidden if one car parks in front of it. It still holds that the water, sewer, and electrical lines servicing all of the residents east of the beach access go on both sides of the road in front of the beach access with a big junction at the corner. Accessing these through the pavement would be an incredible expense versus today's environment.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Next, we have Beverly Otson.
With your permission, I'd like to let my husband go first and then me.
Okay, you're going to be the tag team? All right.
Yes, he's on there. His name.
Yeah, I saw him. Yes,
My
sir.
son spoke up.
I see his name. Yes, sir. Come forward. Otson, O-T-T-Z-E-N, Otson?
Yes.
I said it right.
My name is Lawrence Otson, O-T-T-Z-E-N. I live at 415 Beachfront Trail. My wife Beverly and I built our home here in '94 and are full-time residents now. I'd like to show you 3 photographs we took the day after Opal, October 6, 1995. You've probably seen them there. Oh, no, that's, no, that's not the first one. That's the first one. In this first picture, you can see that about half the dune walkover from Walton Dunes condominiums was destroyed, and there was some roof damage also. But the large, well-developed dunes protected the building very well. These dunes provided spectacular natural beauty as well as protection from storms for the residents of Walton Dunes, this neighborhood, and the many guests that come here to vacation. In the next one, the large concrete object on the beach is a septic tank. Notice that any pipes that were connected to this thing got ripped away by the hurricane. Obviously, the beach is not the best location for a toilet facility. A more appropriate place to put a bathroom would be at the free parking lot that was provided by the county at the intersection of Lakewood Drive and Beachfront Trail, which is only a short walk from the beach. There is plenty of space in that parking lot for a bathroom. We pass this parking lot daily, and it almost always is practically empty. Number 3, please. Thank you. The next photograph is the Walton Dunes beach access the day after Opal. You can see that the storm surge, taking the path of least resistance, went around the larger dunes and wiped out the smaller one. What you can't see in this picture is that the storm surge then went across Beachfront Trail and all the way to the Little Deer Lake, which is north of the present-day subdivision of Seawinds Court. After Opal, neighborhood volunteers planted sea oats and began to nurture the dune back to health. When the subsequent hurricanes, Ivan and Dennis, struck here in 2004 and 5, the Walton Dunes beach access was used as a staging area for dump trucks and bulldozers to repair storm damage in other areas of the beach and to haul away debris. It was used the same way in 2010 during the BP oil spill to build dams designed to block the oil from entering the coastal dune lakes. Eventually, sand fencing was put up along Beachfront Trail, and the county installed no parking signs 2 years ago. Both of these measures have helped the dune system continue to grow to its present health state. It is bigger and taller today than it was before Opal. Thank you. I took this last picture yesterday. Look how well developed the dune has become. It is taller than that large white pickup truck in the corner there. If left alone, it will grow. The idea of ripping down this dune and paving it over is inconceivable to me. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Beverly?
Yes.
And that's Beverly Otson.
Yes. The Walton Dunes Neighborhood Beach Access functions precisely according to the TDC's Neighborhood Beach Access Initiative, which is to promote walking or bicycle riding instead of driving and parking a vehicle. It serves hundreds of people a day. They get there without parking their cars at the beach. The area is not easily accessed by car due to the heavy bumper-to-bumper traffic on 30A and the narrow and winding nature of Lakewood Drive and Beachfront Trail, with the heavy traffic that already uses those streets. So it is not an appropriate location for a regional beach access. This beach access was deeded to the county by the federal government. Walton County tax dollars were not spent to acquire this parcel, and our tax dollars should not be spent to destroy the dunes. It would be extremely difficult or impossible to accomplish the TDC's proposed plan without it destroying the entire dune system. How can a parking lot possibly be considered to be an improvement over nature? In addition to the environmental and safety concerns, as residents living in one of the 44 homes that are east of beach access, we have two very important concerns. Our utilities, as Kristen told you, they're on both sides of the road. I talked to Chelco and Regional the other day. They confirmed that. And I also spoke to Sammy Sanchez, our fire marshal, who said he had not heard anything about any proposed parking lot. He was concerned. He wanted to see a copy of the plan, and he should definitely be consulted before moving forward, because we're concerned about how emergency vehicles can get to our homes if they have to drive past this. Now, in order not to be totally negative about this, I have 10 suggestions for how this access could be improved without destroying the dunes or making the traffic worse. Improve the sidewalks from 30A to the beach. Add a bike trail from 30A to the beach. Put several bike racks at the beach. Install the bathrooms at the existing lot instead of on the beach. Enforce no overnight parking in that lot. Put signage. Put a turnaround at the beach in front of the public access, not further to the east, dragging all the traffic deeper into the neighborhoods. Make an unloading area in that turnaround. Put a dune walkover. Put a gate across the vehicular access there at the beach that can be opened only by emergency vehicles and authorized county vehicles. It is absolutely not necessary to do harm in order to do good. All of us who live and own property in this area are opposed to this parking lot. I've also talked to many visitors who'd rather have a beautiful dune than a parking lot. The residents don't want it, the visitors don't want it, so who wants it? You have an opportunity to conserve and protect the safety of the citizens and visitors of this county. And please, if you've not done so, visit the site in the middle of the day, not 7 o'clock in the morning like Brian went and took these pictures.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Mallory Murray. Mallory Murray.
Good evening, I'm Mallory Murray. I'm at 320 Beachfront Trail. That's Walton Dunes Townhomes. I'm opposed to the regional beach access at Walton Dunes Beachfront Trail. I request you remove this from the plan to change neighborhood beach to regional beach access. I have two questions, but I want to just say a little bit of information first. The Walton Dunes beach right now has about 345 feet of beach front. The Deer Lake State Park, the border of which is just about less than a quarter of a mile to the east, has 3,960 feet of beach front. This would accommodate 10 times the beachgoers. Has the commission considered partnering with the state to enhance access to Deer Lake State Park Beach? That would be a better return on your investment and a smarter way to use our tax dollars. And my second question is, are there any plans to dedicate space for vendors at the Walton Dunes Beach? I've seen TDC plans that do have a big space of that beach dedicated for vendors. Does anybody know?
not a answer. They are not at neighborhood accesses.
Actually, that does have a vendor zone associated with that because it's a large.
Okay.
We put them at the neighborhood beach accesses that had enough room to do it.
So that would, again, cut down, this beach is 1.28 acres. It's very small. So if you put a vendor space and you're tearing down the dunes for parking, you have even less space for tourists. So request you remove this from the plan. Thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome. I have Beverly Humphreys.
I'm Beverly Humphrey. I've been an owner at Beachfront Trail Townhomes since 1974. I've seen a lot of changes, but the neighborhood park has not changed that much. It's still a natural park. Over the years, I've seen the foot traffic come and go. Even when the dunes were blown down because of the storms, the people still respected where the dunes used to be, and they used the foot traffic. The dunes did not need protection from the foot traffic. Now it seems we need protection from our elected officials doing something to the dunes. So, the vendor sites at the beaches, they make no sense that the TDC is proposing, especially at the neighborhood beach at Walton Dunes. Vendors deliver anything you want, paddle boards, anything, you name it. So why do you need a vendor site, especially on the neighborhood beach? Each of the reports and evaluations that's been mentioned, environmental, safety, traffic, I would like to ask each of you to tell me, have you reviewed these documents yourself and looked at each of them and assessed what they say, or are you relying on someone else to interpret them for you? Can I have an answer?
Ma'am, you direct your comments to the chair, and I am chairman.
Well, do you know?
If they choose to answer you, they can, but you direct your comments to me. And no, I can't talk to my fellow commissioners because that's breaking the sunshine.
So am I going to get an answer or not,
Sure,
Madam
I
Chairman?
don't mind answering you. Yes, I have reviewed them. I've actually done an on-site visit with Charles and some others, and the dunes are beautiful, and it would be a shame to put a parking lot on them.
I ask you to hold it. I'm sorry, we do have a time limit, so we need to move forward. Ms. Humphreys, go ahead, please.
This same issue has been turned down twice in the past. I know only once has been mentioned. But why in the world it keeps surfacing again? Who is bringing it up all these times? And why can't, when a decision is made to turn it down, leave it turned down? Don't keep bringing it up for more concerns and concerns of the citizens. As far as spending all that tax money, as hard as tax money is to come by these days, it makes no sense at all to spend that tax money on useless projects. The fact that the beaches on South Walton are the cash cows that you guys get most of your taxes from has no application to this project. It's still a useless expenditure of tax money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, looks like Tommy Bowden.
Tommy Bowden, full-time resident. I've lived here 4 years. The biggest issue I bring up, I think this is my third time talking, is the safety issue. I didn't see it addressed much in the presentation. Maybe there's some documentation somewhere where it has been addressed and studied. But come here today at 4:35, leave my house, driving up toward that top of the hill, the 90-degree turn right there, big truck there parking, loading up. A lady walked out right in front of me had I not been going 20 miles an hour, and the great defensive driver that I am probably would have hit her. Coming from home from church Sunday at that Seagrove Baptist Church right there about 11:30, a lady walking south on Lakewood, coming around that other 90-degree turn, had her child in a wagon, pulling it, and a car comes around. It's a blind curve if y'all have ever driven down there. You just got bushes right there, no sidewalk, no place to walk, just about hit her child. It's living there and going on that road every day. That's something I see frequently. Like I say, I live here year round. So safety is a huge issue. We're fixing to increase it tenfold, and again, it's a recipe for disaster when that happens, because the house behind me, subdivision, one house is fixing to build 14,000 square feet. It's going to sleep 40. There's one back there, 8,000 square feet, that sleeps 28. That's teenage drivers, a little bit of alcohol. It is not a good combination at a peak time. The other, again, is the issue I bring up is the parking lot that's not used. Yesterday, I'm a jogger, jogged past that parking lot that we already have every day. I don't know how often y'all see it. I see it every single day, either jogging or driving past it. 12 o'clock, peak week, June, 4 cars there. Came by there 6:45 a month ago, or about 3 or 4 weeks ago, on the way to a doctor's appointment. It's raining outside. I see 2 dogs on the beach and 1 guy. Go by that parking lot, 6:45 in the morning in the rain, 5 cars there. It's a nice overnight parking lot for some of the guests and tourists that come in. But again, why we would build a parking lot when we have one that is not being used, that's just something that I don't understand. The other thing, I guess, is, again, jogging by there, I look over that little sand dune and see the tourists stacked 2 and 3 deep with umbrellas there. And I don't know how many more people we'd like to encourage to come on such a small piece of beach. I don't like the beach. I love the beach. I go to the beach every day. Built a house on it. And to look down there and to see those things 2 or 3 deep, and where we're going to put extra tourists by classifying it as a regional beach access, I don't have any idea what we're trying to do with an existing parking lot that's not used, a small beach already overused. And again, I'd strongly be against any kind of parking lot, not to mention the destruction of the dunes, which I've spent a bunch of money trying to build them up, and why we want to tear them down, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I believe it is it Tina Barron, B-A-R-A-N?
Good evening. My name is Tina Barron. My husband John and I live at 207 Beachfront Trail. Our family has owned that residence there for almost 30 years. So in those 30 years, we have seen a lot of different development go on there, but especially over the last 20, when Beachfront Townhomes actually gave Walton County an easement for utility, and in exchange, they took down the power poles there on the proposed site that we're talking about. However, the development is not the thing in our overdeveloped neighborhood already, because we have become a community there. We know our neighbors. As I look back, I know the majority of the people sitting in here, and I know who's sick and who needs help or whatever. So the big thing that I think that we're all missing here is that we are a community. We are the heartbeat of Seagrove. We are the preachers. We are the teachers. We are the people who buy gas in your gas stations, eat in your restaurants, attend your fundraisers. We are the people who support the heart of that. And all we're asking you to do is look at the quality of our life, how the quality of our life will be impacted. I've sat on many and various boards throughout the state in the county of Alabama, in St. Clair County, Alabama. And the one thing that we always look at is that when we make decisions such as this, are we actually looking at how it will affect the quality of the life of the people who live there? You're talking about bringing in and putting a parking lot into a neighborhood that has to go 3-4 blocks back in there to even get into it. So you're talking about the neighborhoods that use that neighborhood beach access from all the way from Shannon Drive to Lakewood Drive, Mar-Largo, Seawood, Beachfront, Beachfront 2, Seclusion Dunes. And speaking of Seclusion Dunes, just like Mr. Bowden said, who needs a Hampton Inn when Walton County is permitting, small hotels in Seagrove and neighborhoods? Where are those people going to access the beach to? Those people will access that neighborhood beach access. We just want you to take a look at us as the people, the residents, the voters of this community, and we're begging you to please take this regional beach access off the books once and for all. In closing, I do just want to say one or two other things. I know that our association has invited each and every single one of you to view that site. I know that Ms. Jones has been there, and I know that Ms. Meadows has been there, and I think that that's why they are pretty much leaning and understand our reasoning for there. If you have not been there, I would suggest that you go to that site and see them 3 and 4 deep, just like I did yesterday. I will send you pictures via email on that beach. And in closing, what I would really like to say is that I want you guys to know that you don't work for the TDC. You work for the voters of Walton County.
All right, I have a William Barr.
I'm going to pass.
You're going to pass? Okay.
Tina said everything he was going to say.
Is it, I'm sorry, Marina? Marina. I'll let you say your last name.
Marina Daniel.
Daniel,
I have
okay.
really bad handwriting. So I'm sure you guys are all tired of getting emails from me.
No, ma'am.
But I'm in Seawinds Court, Marina Daniel. Since 2012, this is the third time the proposal to expand the Walton Dunes Beach access parcel has come up for discussion with the BCC. In the past, we left the meetings with a sense of reassurance that common sense had prevailed because the commissioners seemingly understood what we were saying, and the process to change our NBA to an RBA was halted. We bring the same arguments today that we have brought before you since 2012, with the exception that our protective dune has grown over the last 4 years, and there has been significant increase in new home construction in our area. Following the initial discussions in 2012, we have repeatedly asked the county to complete a needs assessment of the Walton Dunes NBA, as well as a safety study in order for you, the commissioners, to make an informed decision and not intrude so dramatically on a neighborhood unnecessarily. The information from these studies is vital prior to such a permanent and intrusive decision. An informed decision regarding this matter. That is what we are asking the commissioners today. From a strictly selfish perspective, the plan for the parking lot and restroom in and of itself really doesn't impact my property. We would not have a view of the restroom, and we have been accustomed to those vehicles parked along parked parallel along the south side of Beachfront Trail because that was the norm in 2011. We did have the issue with deliveries and other large vehicles not being able to enter our neighborhood, but the county recognized this issue and alleviated the problem by erecting no parking signs along Beachfront Trail. So when I focused on the proposed construction from this selfish, isolated perspective, I thought perhaps fighting this is not worth my time and energy. But then I immediately think of the implications of this proposal, particularly the destruction of the dunes, and more importantly, the major safety concerns I already have for Lakewood and Beachfront Trail, but will be exacerbated with the increased vehicular traffic. That's what makes me pause, and that's what makes me provide the commissioners with feedback today. The safety issue is a real concern affecting the thousands of tourists that visit our neighborhood each season, as well as the residents. Advocating additional traffic to an area that is already utilized to capacity is simply irresponsible. Several of my guests, and we do rent our home, several of my guests have told me of vehicle incidents their children have had while cycling in the neighborhood. And even my husband was injured while cycling on Lakewood, and Cindy Meadows has seen the pictures. It was not good. Following his incident, the county promptly removed dangerous stakes which inflicted his injuries. It is this diligent attention to safety we ask the county to mandate for all proposals. I'm going to go to my last sentence. Hold on. The onus is on our elected commissioners to ensure all appropriate assessments have been completed, deeming this proposal as necessary, safe, and environmentally friendly prior to permanently destroying the landscape and disrupting our neighborhood.
Thank you. Next, we have Gina Gafford. Okay. George.
Pass.
Okay. Charles Wilson. I love a last name like Wilson. Thank you.
I've been referred to Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson.
I have a petition that's been signed by, I think,
If you give them to the clerk,
I will.
then she will pass them out. Thank you, sir.
And I also have a picture of the dunes of this area that 2005, after Dennis and after the county picked those debris
Don't start
up,
his time.
and you can see this great issue.
Okay. All right.
I'm Charles Wilson. I live at 207 Beachfront Trail and am a part of that homeowners association, which is asking you to abandon this decision. I'm going to approach this from a different point of view. If you're going to do something, there should, as a decision, you would like something to happen as a result of it. And as was stated, one of the reasons we're even considering this is so that people can have access to the beach. And so that developers can say, hey, there's a regional beach access. Go down there and use it. Nothing is going to change if you put this in. Nothing changes, and here's why. The neighborhood, what I call neighborhood, from 30A down to this location is a half a mile. Small, lots of small additions, building at all-time high. And the neighborhood has learned to use this facility as is. I mean, we have. They tote their stuff down there every day. They've learned to use it as is. What will happen if you put it in is this. I'm as lazy as the next guy, and even though I can see that beach access, I will put my beach chair in my car and I will drive down there and use it. The neighborhood will fill it up immediately, and what you intended to accomplish with the tourists and outside our neighborhood using this facility will not be accomplished. It will just be it'll be an investment of money, and there might be a return on that for the county. But as far as accomplishing anything, it'll be a moot point from the very beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Marilyn Johnson.
My name is Marilyn Johnson, and I am a homeowner in Seagrove for the last 20 years. And our property is on the east side of 395, and we are not one of the 700 families that received any notice about the workshop, but we are a family that needs to have handicap access, and we need it at a very level site, not like Santa Clara where the switchbacks and the elevation is so high that you can't push an adult in a wheelchair back up that ramp at all. I mean, you have to have a motorized wheelchair in order to push an adult up there. Family members can't do that for each other. So on behalf of what I call like the silent majority that don't get the 700 letters, we need something on this side of 395. We've got to have some access between here and Inlet Beach. And I believe that this is an ideal access for handicapped families. And with the aging population that I am part of, and baby boomers are, and our elderly parents, it's incumbent for us to do something to serve this population that is very, very underserved on this side of 395. I picked up this brochure at the TDC, and it says, perfect in South Walton 2016. Well, I know we have lots of accolades about where they've got the #1 beach here and the #1 there, but to me the values that make our community #1 are how we treat our people, and especially those that are less privileged and that are not perfect. You know, if 30A is only for perfect people, then I guess that's what we've got here. The people that have privilege, the people that don't have to drive. I mean, we have to drive to the beach. We're at the mercy. We don't have beachfront property. We have to use the trails. We have to use the parking lot. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting older and I need to use the restroom more frequently than not. And if you're not there yet, you're not going to escape that. So just get ready. And so anyway, I would love for our community to be known for #1 in handicap accessibility, and that it is friendly for people that are not perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Okay. I have a Bill Butella.
That's good. You did a good job.
I'm getting better. Of course, you printed. That helps. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing the counties. Thank you for recognizing the responsibility in providing beach access to both our visitors and the majority of our residents who must drive to the beach or bicycle to the beach. A regional beach access point with on-site parking, bathroom facilities, and a lifeguard is needed at Walton Dunes. This will benefit everyone, including the local residents. It would be the only access from Seaside Beach to the inlet beach area, provide easy access for the physically challenged, including the wounded warrior veterans, which I happen to be an ex-military, elderly, and families with small children. I mean, actually, it is so flat. You can walk almost directly flat to it, unlike some of the other accesses that we have. The proposed has been carefully designed facility will minimize environmental impact and offer one of the most beautiful and convenient beach accesses on 38, which we saw presented earlier. This access will provide a designated walkway to the beach and protect the dunes and vegetation from the current random footpaths, which you can easily see if you look at something from Earth, Google Earth, etc. The argument that proposed development would hurt the dunes is simply not true. As noted in the attached picture, the primary natural dunes run just south of the current proposed building and the parking area. These are already buildings built just to the east of the proposed improvement. So we're not taking any additional dunes out that have not already been affected. The current parking that is 2 blocks away or further, at least 2 blocks away, is not appropriate for a large number of beachgoers, but could be very good for an overflow. So I hope you maintain that. Bottom line, we can always find reasons not to approve these, and it doesn't matter where we go in 38. We're always going to have someone that decides that that's not what they want. I get that. It's not always what's good for the few, it's what's good for the many. Bottom line, we can always find these reasons. That is why we need your leadership to make this beach easily accessible to all. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next I have is it Tammy Rockefeller?
My name is Tammy Rockefeller. Excuse me. We have a home at 31 Seawind Court. We do not rent that home. And we call ourselves blessed to get to be a part of this community. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an engineer. I'm so impressed with all the work that's been put forth from everybody, both sides. But to me, I'm a mom. I have 4 grown children. I hope someday to have grandchildren to take down to the beach. And to me, this has been approached backwards. We've got this great big parking lot.
Could you wait until someone turns their phone off, please? Oh, is that?
It's a sheriff.
It ain't me? Okay. It's the sheriff? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, honey, go ahead.
Okay. We've got this elaborate plan made that someone put a lot of time and money into, but it seems so backwards to me because to get to that is so unsafe. It doesn't seem to me that there was any thought put into how do we get a guest from 30A down Lakewood to the beach. It makes no sense to me. My children and I bike that road often, and we run into lots of traffic as it is. There's not enough sidewalk. It doesn't seem safe to me. I want to be able to take my grandchildren there someday. To me, number one should be safety. Almost as important to me is the preservation of the dunes. It's beautiful there. God gave us that. I just do not understand tearing down the beauty and taking away the natural habitat of any wildlife that's around. It makes no sense to me. Lastly, I'm going to close with something. I brought my 18-year-old son because I wanted him to see what we have and how blessed we are in America to get to speak. And he pointed this out, and it says, pride, preservation, and conservation. So important to us, guys, and it's up to you to give us the chance to save our dunes and to save our children that want to bicycle down there. And let's see, I had one more point I wanted to say. I'm sorry. It just seems like there's so much more opportunity to spend money to make it safer. If these people that want, I'm happy to share the beach. I've been there with 3 rows deep this week. But if we make this a regional access, they're not going to have any place to go because there's already so many people there. I think we should make it safe for who's there now and not add spaces for more people.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Next, I have Linda Cook. Linda Cook. You pass? Okay. I'm going to butcher this one. Patrick Trujillo. Did I come close?
Pretty good. My name is Patrick Trujillo, and I and my wife have had a residence at Mar-a-Lago Boulevard at the very end of Lakewood for 18 years, and we have seen everything that's been discussed so far about the safety and hazards of accessing this beach. And we believe that the majority of the members of Mar-a-Lago would be against this improvement, and we just wanted to have a say-so to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, I believe it's Matthew. Is it Jones or James? Okay. Would you?
Jones.
It's Jones, okay.
Matthew Jones, registered voter, Walton County resident, Florida native, on and on. Just to clarify real quick, I heard a few things earlier. This is being paid with TDC funds and not county funds, correct?
Correct.
Collected through the bed tax.
Yes.
And the vendor zone that was mentioned, that's the current delineation of the beach where the vendors are allowed to set up. The other portion is reserved for the general public. And the actual facility in question wouldn't actually have like storage or anything like that associated for vendors. Okay,
No,
I just want to clarify that. I just want to echo what a few people have said is that, we can't pass on this to develop this. We haven't done it for years. It's been almost 10 years since the access was developed in Walton County, but the population has almost doubled. To not do this, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard that it's unsafe, basically from people parking and not allowing emergency vehicles through. This would allow parking, so it'd be very easily to enforce parking. You'd be able to tow cars that aren't parked properly, things of that nature. I used to live on Shannon Drive, and it was about a 15-minute walk to the beach. It was 10 if you had to get back in a hurry, if you know what I mean. Bathrooms there would be really beneficial. As I heard the other woman speak about her mother who's disabled, if this doesn't pass, I think it'd be a real short, simple solution to simply file a complaint with the ADA, and you'd be able to build that in a matter of moments as soon as they told you to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Miss Nancy James. Welcome, Miss Nancy.
Hi, thanks. I'm Nancy James. I'm a 25-year resident of Seagrove Beach in Cassine Garden. I was asked to come here by people who could not be here today, and one of them wrote a letter. I've been very, very impressed by all the arguments against building this access. They're just wonderful, wonderful research, and I sure hope you go with the huge majority of people that have spoken today. I will just leave this letter that I was supposed to read aloud because I don't think we need to hear it.
Okay,
Thanks.
Miss Nancy, if you will leave it with the clerk, that would be wonderful. All right.
And I have to say, Nancy James has been a citizen activist and community leader since 1998 and before,
Yes,
I think.
more, yes.
So it's good to see you out, Nancy.
Yeah. I think Nancy and I were children when we first got to know each other. How's that? Is there anyone else?
Every morning you
Yeah.
see her walking.
She's wonderful. Is there anyone else that did not get a chance to sign up on the sign-up sheet that would like to come up now, sir? Anyone else that wants to, I ask you to, I call it get in the airplane queue, get lined up and ready to speak. If anybody else wants to speak. What's your name, sir?
My name is Jimmy Coon. My wife and I live about 3/4 of a mile from Walton Dunes. I'm familiar with this beach because I walk it several times a week for turtle watch. In addition, I run and ride and bike in the area. The Walton Dunes beach access is very important because easily accessed public beaches in this area are rare. The beach to the east of Walton Dunes has no trespassing signs for 690 feet to the border of Deer Lake State Park. The beach to the west of Walton Dunes is private and restricts access for 300 feet on most days to the owners and guests of the dunes of Seagrove. Lack of bathrooms near the beach is a serious issue for beachgoers in Walton County. The closest bathroom to Walton Dunes is 2.1 miles to the west at the Santa Clara entrance, or 1 mile to the east at Deer Lake State Park. One of the objections to the improvements is that street-side parking is a safety risk. In my opinion, street-side parking on Beachfront Trail can improve safety situation in the area by actually slowing traffic. Two towns where I have lived allow and encourage street-side parking that are Homewood, Alabama and Mount Laurel, Alabama. Street-side parking is actually part of the development plan in Mount Laurel as an explicitly stated as have an effect of calming traffic. The 66-foot right-of-way that the county has on Beachfront Trail seems ample for both parking and passage. While purchasing land for parking is an alternative, street-side parking is most likely the cheaper option for the county to gain additional parking, not only here but other parts of 30A. Another objection to the project is destruction of the dunes. All improvements of the TDC are landward of the CCCL except for the boardwalk. The TDC has positioned improvements so as to minimize the impact to the dunes. My calculations indicate that the current plan will reduce the dunes by 20%. That's 0.2 acres. One alternative could be to reduce that loss to 12%, could be to shift the improvements 20 feet to the north. That would reduce the impact to the dunes. This repositioning would require reposition the street and creating a curve to the east of the project to tie back into the beachfront trail. With the drowning deaths over the last few days, the need for lifeguards on our beach is even more important. As I understand, the closest lifeguard station is at the Santa Clara entrance, which is 2.1 miles away. I've been told that a requirement for a lifeguard station is a bathroom. Put a bathroom at Walton Dunes and we can fill a huge safety hole. As a member of Surfrider, I support improvements at Walton Dunes that maximize access for opportunities while at the same time minimizing environmental impacts. In closing, I see the priority of improvements as follows: bathrooms and lifeguards, number 1; street-side parking, number 2; turnaround, number 3; and a boardwalk, number 4. Thank you for your time.
You're certainly welcome, Mr. Coon. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
I'm Steve Johnston, 35 Seawinds Court.
Would you spell that for the clerk, please?
Johnston. My wife and I are full-time residents here, and I'd like to join all my neighbors who have spoken, Steve, Kristen, Lonnie, Beverly, Tommy, Charles, Tina, in opposing the regional beach access. A few other points that I'd like to make is that I don't think any of my neighbors and me oppose a neighborhood beach access where you would have a handicap walkway, foot wash, bicycle racks. I mean, some improvements would be nice to the neighborhood beach access, but keep it a neighborhood beach access. I definitely feel like it should be accessible by handicapped people and have a nice path down that flat area. Another point I'd like to make is the topographical map I saw from yesterday shows that 15 and 16-foot dunes would be removed with this project. The other point I'd make is I see two paths to the beach. One's a footpath, and one is emergency vehicles and footpath. I haven't seen any random paths there. Lastly, any other regional beach access that I've seen has been at a termination point. Here, 46 homeowners are going to have to drive through a parking lot to get to their homes. I just think that does not make sense. And anyway, I'm opposed to regional beach access, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Mr. Bagby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jim Bagby, BAGBY. I'm not sure how we got back here, but where we left off before was fairly simple. We'll take out the parking on right down by the dunes, right down by the park, integrate the parking lot that exists into the regional, and everybody misuses that word, but into the beach park, if you look at it like that. Put the bathroom at the parking lot, okay, so that you can have lifeguards, so that you can have storage. Put a sidewalk down the road and then a walkover so that the handicapped people, and you might have to do a little drop-off point so if handicapped people don't have to, roll their wheelchair or roll their stroller or roll their whatever, but not allow parking there so that they can drop off, go back and park in the parking lot where there would be a bathroom, and then if you do I believe Charles, and I don't remember Charles's last name, Brian might remember it, but Booth, yeah. Good man, had a good plan, understood that if you put parking down there by the sandy part of the park, that you would probably have to shift the road a little bit, or you would have too tight a turn. I would just say, the bathroom, the handicap access, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It's still a neighborhood park because you've already got parking there. It's underused. Everybody knows it's underused. It's used primarily as overnight parking. And I would just say there's a solution here, and I believe that y'all can find it. And I believe you can find it that will make the neighborhood happy. And I believe you can find it that will make everybody else happy. And I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right, seeing none. Commissioners, do y'all have any questions you would like to ask of staff or?
Yeah, I just want to know from somebody in the audience, do people drive golf carts down there? Do y'all see many golf carts? How many? A lot? So where do they park?
Illegally beside
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. That lady sitting right there has to, get a summation of what we have, and it's also recorded. So if someone wants to come up and answer that question, please.
If somebody,
I was going to point to you.
Yeah, tell me about the golf carts.
Well, there are multiple golf carts coming from beachfront villas, sugar dunes, the multiple neighborhoods, all around, wherever there's rental property, and they are dropped off in our parking lot and hang out there. However, the east side of Dunes of Seagrove, as you enter the west access of the county park, people are parking on the sidewalk. They're not parking down at the parking lot where there's plenty of places to park. They are parking on our sidewalk. We are about to investigate what this county will let us do in erecting tow-away zones and put signs up along there. And then I become the person with the telephone calling the non-emergency number. People just think it's their right and privilege, but that takes away a big chunk of the sidewalk for the bike riders and the pedestrians to get down to the beach access. So yes, and
so you do have a lot of golf carts coming.
And furthermore, with cars, I think what this commission will see if you proceed with this development. Have you ever visited Red Bar on a Saturday night?
Oh my God, no.
You line up for 45 minutes to get into Grayton. and you're stuck in that line. And then you get in there and people are in every which way because they all think they should have the right first to leave, and that just makes a major traffic jam. And then you take 45 minutes to get out, and most of us don't get out of the car to go into Red Bar. That's what Lakewood Beachfront Trail is going to look like. The proposed turnaround with the handicap parking spots, if I looked at it correctly, you're going to fill up with handicapped cars. Anybody that wants to use that to turn around is going to have to pull in and back out, which means we are going to have a line of cars all the way down to 30A waiting to get in to find out there's no place to park because we've advertised for regional access.
Okay.
If they get in, they can't get out.
Thank
So,
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Excuse me, ma'am, before you, would you identify yourself for the...
Reichenbach.
So there are golf carts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Meadows, do you have any other questions?
Yeah. TDC, how far is it from 30A to the, how far is it?
0.6 of a mile.
Okay. 0.6 of a mile.
Thank you, Brian.
I concur.
Voice has got a little high. No, Ms. Meadows, anything else?
No, I think, one of the things that concerns me about this one is that, most regional accesses that draw a lot of people in are on 30A. And they've got ingress, egress is fairly planned out and say, I just think that TDC does a good job, but I would direct TDC to do a better job at looking at these proposals from a bigger picture. Look at the safety, look at the environment, and look at what we're doing to this area, because we just can't keep pushing all these people into the neighborhoods. I live in a neighborhood and like this, and we just can't keep penalizing the neighborhoods because we don't have enough infrastructure to accommodate 3.2 million tourists.
Ms. Renfeld.
Wait, I'm not done. I'm sorry.
3
Yeah.
minutes.
So we've got to do something different because what we're doing is not working. So we need to put our heads together. We need to go back to the drawing board, not particularly on this, because I agree that unless you can shift this road pavement to the north, get it away from the dunes, away from all that stuff, and maybe put 2 or 3 loading places there where people could come down, unload their stuff, go back and park at the parking lot. And then, and so that way, and then put some kind of turnaround, and they would be parallel loading and unloading zones. But you'd have to move the roadway to the north. And you'd have to have some kind of turnaround west of the entrance to where the condos and all the homes start happening to the east.
Okay.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, please no talking in the audience, please.
So, and then another suggestion, another thing I had was when I heard people talking about sidewalks on Lakewood and all that kind of thing, I'm going to ask Public Works and TDC to look at this whole area as far as sidewalks and multi-use paths go. Because when we do these, when we do anything, we need to look at connecting up bikes, golf carts, cars, whatever we're coming and going in. We need to have bike paths. And so if we need to put a bike path from 30A all the way down Lakewood and tie it into here and make it look good. Let's make all these areas look good. I think what I have a problem with is just kind of cramming a bunch of parking places in kind of willy-nilly anywhere where we've got a little bit of space. I think that those days are over, in my opinion, and we've got to raise the bar on these kinds of things. So that's my little speech for the day.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Enfield.
Well, Madam Chair, I know that when we were given this, that we got a lot of technical, engineering, and financial details from TDC, and I appreciate that. What we didn't get is the impact on the quality of life, and I think we should be taking that into consideration as well, not only on this project, but on other projects, is that while we want tourists we've got to maintain the quality of life for our residents and our citizens that live here too. So I'm concerned that we get, as was brought up by several people, to consideration for the impact on the quality of life for the people that live here too. So I'd like to see that brought back.
All right, Mr. Chapman.
For the record, I have visited the site about last week. It was the most recent time. I've patrolled that area for many years, so I know what you're talking about. The time I was down there last week, there was a truck and a stock trailer parked in the parking lot, not in the parking lot, on the sidewalk. We had to stop and tell them they need to move, and at the same time there were some people going to the beach that had to walk around the whole truck and trailer and get back on the sidewalk. As we got up to the 90-degree curve there on the west end at the entrance, there was a golf cart and two vehicles, including a pickup truck, parked partially on the roadway, partially on the sidewalk. Now, I did realize or notice that there's a lot of sand that's blown up in there that's covered parts of the sidewalk, and that's still no excuse for people parking where they were. But in seeing the kids that's out there that day, and also what I see in these photographs presented to us today, the biggest concern I have is their safety. As an old cop, you have to have safety. You also have to have rules and regulations to try to get compliance. Hopefully you can get compliance before you start getting into somebody's pocketbook and citing them. If we were to consider enhancing the accesses by bike path or multi-use path down there and across the face of, be the north side of the lot, I'm okay with that. I think that is probably, as far as a safety thing, would help with the bike drivers and riders and all that. Most of the time when I've seen the bikers out there, they're running 3 to 4 abreast down the road. Florida, that's illegal. Simple as that. Now, are you going to find a cop or a deputy that's going to go out there and cite a 12-year-old for a traffic violation? I doubt it. Maybe chastise him a little bit. But if we extended, instead of using all the right-of-way that we have there for parking, if we took the existing right-of-way, widening it where we could put a good-sized bike path down through there that would provide that safety function for people transversing backwards and forth. I think it was Mr. Wilson that commented that, like most of us, including Bill, get kind of lazy sometimes, and if I could drive down there instead of walk 100 feet, I'd probably drive too, but we would have that issue to deal with. I acknowledge that. It would probably fill up rather quick with some of the locals around there instead of what it would be intended for, and that's for the tourists to come down there. So if we would, might consider at a later date, Madam Chair, to try to get Public Works to go out there and do a survey of the right-of-way and the placement of the road and the existing sidewalk within those diagrams to determine what we do have available for us, that we might be able to enhance. I know we can't go to the west side of the road because it's right up against the condominiums that are right there, but we may have additional space on the east side that would provide an easier access for the people. Once we decide what we need to do there, I'm going to ask staff to meet with the sheriff's office, and let's go down there and analyze what needs to be done to provide the proper signage so that when you have a violator that's parking in the road or partially in the road or on sidewalks, that there is some legitimate enforcement action taken. Sometimes you can talk to folks. Most times you got to get in their pocketbook to get compliance. So for those that don't know what I mean on getting the pocketbook, it means scratch them out a ticket. But anyway, if we could look at that. My one other comment is to Brian. Tell me what dune enhancement entails.
It's adding to the dune system that's already there. On most of the projects we do where we're rebuilding boardwalks, which are boardwalks and dune walkovers, we enhance the dune. Dothan Street was a example where we did a dune enhancement or dune reconstruction.
Okay.
It's where we basically go in there with FDEP and we add dune structure to the existing dune structure.
Okay. Well, I think it was Miss Johnson that mentioned those that have special needs and accessibility to the beach. The west entrance, the vehicle entrance, I think is probably the best place to maybe consider putting in an extra wide special needs access ramp down to the beach for consideration. Bathroom, we could probably put it up there at the park where the parking lot is now. But let's try to look and see if we can take our existing right-of-way, put some additional enhancements there for safety, for sidewalks, bike paths, and or multi-use path. And it wouldn't hurt, I would think, especially at the handicap access, to maybe have some enhanced drop-off area where people could get out of the main travel area but get off so they could drop, but just as a drop location, and then they'd have to go off-site to park. But those are my comments. Thank you.
Ms. Jones.
I was just looking at this list Beverly Otson did, and there's really some good recommendations: sidewalks, bike path, bike racks. And I won't elaborate because we've already said a lot of these things. But one thing I haven't heard is that maybe we could pursue the Deer Lake Park to the state park. Because when I was down there was 3 or 4 parking places, and then you walk out this big long ramp and the most beautiful beaches. Like there was no signs, no chains, none of that. It was like it used to be. So if we could try to work with the state to maybe utilize that a little bit more, and you might have already done that.
Yes, ma'am. We are actually talking to them right now. Jason Cutshaw and I were talking about that this morning, so that is something he is exploring.
Good. And I can tell you right now, I don't support turning this neighborhood access into a regional. I can tell you. So thank you.
My only comments are I agree with the majority of the people on this board, and just like Mr. Chapman, I usually do not announce if I'm going somewhere. My aide and I get in the car and there we go, because I want to be, we all up here have to be totally impartial. We need to look at both sides and then make the right decision. So, of course, I've lived here 50 years. And I am not a native, by the way. I have been there many times and was there very recently. But I have a tendency not to let people know that I'm coming. That way, you get sometimes a better look at things when you surprise people when you walk up. The things that I am concerned about, and I would like to look at Brian, because I really don't know what we can do at a neighborhood access versus a regional access. I agree with the lady that spoke in the back. I will be the ripe old age of 70 very shortly, and I do use a bathroom a whole lot more than I used to. I think when you take your grandchildren somewhere, kids always need to use the bathroom. So if we could find a place maybe for have we looked at the parking lot to see if we can put a bathroom facility there?
We have not, but we will.
I think that is an opportunity, and I also agree with the lady. I am the baby boomer crowd, and we need to provide for those, the handicap. Can we do that at a neighborhood access?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. So I do.
Without going through the dunes.
Yeah.
Without going through the dunes, because I know that sometimes handicap accesses have to, they have to have a certain.
Yes, ma'am. I would recommend on the east end of the property where the trail has already degraded the dune system.
That's where it would be.
Yes, ma'am. That's also where we've talked about putting either a hammerhead or a turnaround. So, of course, the accessible dune access or beach access will require a parking lot for a handicapped person. And we ought to incorporate a unloading, loading zone as well. So, like I say, that can probably all be incorporated into a turnaround at the end of the, or right before you get to the Walton Dunes townhome properties.
Okay,
And,
if you would work and continue to that and come back to each of us. My only other question, we cannot have a lifeguard at a neighborhood access, or can we?
Well, right now we do not have one there. I'd have to research what is required to have a lifeguard there, but I'll get with South
But
Walton
if we had
Fire
a
District.
bathroom, then it might be possible.
Let me get with South Walton Fire District to see what they require.
If you would do those and say, this is a workshop, ladies and gentlemen, so we cannot make any decision tonight. But yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
just like to say that the way forward I see is they bring us back a lot of information, show it to us, but we do not schedule another hearing on this access until we are satisfied that we have something that actually works.
I
And so So when they're looking at all this and bringing it back and designing it and all that, I don't want to see it back on the agenda until we know what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Next.
We understand that. So Brian, if you would work on that and say, and if you would, meet with each of the commissioners individually and take the time you need, so when we do approach it again, we have all the information in front of us.
Yes, ma'am. I've taken good notes. I understand what you'd like.
Very good. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here tonight. We thank you for being a part of what makes Walton County great. Thank you.